Okay, testing. I believe we are live. Welcome to GS First Runs at the U12 Rocky Mountain Region or Rocky Mountain Division Championships. We are going to get racing started about 9:30. It is 9:26 right now. All right, I'm hearing them clear the course, getting ready to start. We have moved courses. We are racing on Bill's Run this morning, so I do not have my comfy timing shack that I'm used to working out of. Okay, sounds like we've got one forerunner to get things started. Okay, forerunner will go on next interval. The wind is blustering through my tent here. You guys can probably hear it. All right, we've got a forerunner on course. Now, this GS course is big. We can only see the final few gates. Camera bag. Here we go. Okay, so forerunner's been on course for about 34 seconds. I expect to see him come up over the knoll here any moment. And here we go. Here comes forerunner on this big fat course. It is fast. The snow froze firm overnight. Here they come down through the finish, and boom. There we go. We get a forerunner time, 58.62, 58.62. All right, how's that mic volume down below me? Can you guys hear me okay, or you want some more? That's a thumbs up with a little more, okay. Okay, I'll slip down here. Try not to fall down. I'm headed down to the speaker. Almost looped out. It is a solid block of ice out here today. Okay, so I'm giving this mic a little more juice. You guys like that? A little better? Not too much? There's never too much. Turn it up to 11! All right. At the U14 qualifiers, I did not get live video running for the morning, but I did today. So we are live on YouTube. You can check PRC, Powderhorn Racing Club, on YouTube to find the stream. Hit me up on the live chat. Here we go. Let's go, Slim Sadie. Crush it. Coming in from... Okay, we're looking for bib 40. Pipe Sadie Helmel is going first today. Bib number 40. All right, so Sadie's going first. Baker McDonald second. Bryn Barrowclaw third. Corey Bomarito fourth. Here we go. Sadie Helmel on course right now. Baker McDonald next up in the start. This is bib 41 headed to us. And we are running, what is our time interval? 30 seconds, 40 seconds in between racers? 30 seconds in between racers. And boom, on the 30-second mark, Baker McDonald is on course. So at about 45 to 50 seconds, there she is. Sadie Hummel coming in. Okay, Bryn Barrowclaw on course to the top. Coming through the finish, our first racer, Sadie Helmel, with a time of 1 minute, .53. That's 1:00.53. Corey Bomarito next up in the start gate. Bryn Barrowclaw at the top of the course. Baker McDonald's going to come into our view any second here. And there she is. Baker coming into view. Again, fast GS course today. And there we go. 43 is having troubles mid-course. 43 abandoned. That leaves 44 next up coming at us. Corey Bomarito on course. Bergen Gilligan in the start gate. At the finish, we just had Baker McDonald, bib 42, with a time of 1:06.72. 1:06.72 for Baker. Bergen Gilligan on course. Mary Grace Crump next up in the start. I've got the sun hitting me in the eyes right this second, but it is going to get shaded by my tent in just a few minutes. It'll be easier for me to see my screens. All my screens are kind of like blacked out from the sun hitting me in the eyes here. Oh, Slim Shady. Yeah, Dad. Thanks for letting me know. Let's go, Slim Shady from Dad. Crush it on the YouTube chat. All right. Mary Grace Crump on course. Pippa McGlincy next up in the start. At the finish, we just had bib 44. Corey Bomarito with a time of 1:10.72. That's 1 minute, 10 seconds, .72. Oh, here comes Bergen. Bergen's going fast. And Bergen on a hot one, bib 45, goes sub 1 minute, 59.85. 59.85 for Bergen. Pippa McGlincy on course at the top. Margot Weber next up in the start. Mary Grace Crump is going to come into our sight any second here. There she is. This should be 46, bib 46, Mary Grace. .43, you got to exit to your right. Must exit to the right. Keep an eye on that finish. Okay, you're good. Okay, Reese Stockhausen next up in the start. Mogo Weber on course. At the finish, we just had bib 46. Mary Grace Crump, 107.57. 107.57 for Mary Grace. And here we go, Pippa McGlincy from Winter Park. Coming through. Let me tell you who's in the start gate real quick. Gabrielle Kozicki is next up in the start. Reese Stockhausen at the top of the course. Margot Weber nearing the bottom, just finishing, was bib 47. Pippa McGlincy, 104.98. 104.98 for Pippa McGlincy. That was 48, just came through. Margot Weber with the fastest time we've seen so far, by far, 54.78. 54.78 for Margot Weber. Reese Stockhausen mid-course in the start gate. Gabriella Kozicki. Okay, here comes Reese. This is bib 49. And up at the top, Gabrielle Kozicki on course. Neve Moulton in the start gate. Neve Moulton in the start gate. At the finish, Reese, bib 49 with a time of 1:12.60. 1:12.60 for Reese Stockhausen. And Neve Moulton on course at the top. Alexandra Steensland next up in the start gate. Okay, in the start gate, Piper Stokes just changed. Bib 40, Piper Stokes is in the start gate. At the finish, we just had Reese with that 1:12.60. Here comes bib 50. That's bib 50. Gabrielle Kozicki with a time of 56.66. 56.66 for Gabrielle. Bib 50. Bib 51 coming to us. Bib 40 will be the next racer through. Bib 40 at the top of the course. Next up in the start gate will be jumping back in bib order 52, Alexandra Steensland. Here comes Neve Moulton into our view here. Alexander Steensland on course at the top. Isla Heroin in the start gate. Coming across the line, Neve Moulton, bib 51 with a 1:04.09. 1:04.09 for Neve. Ski Patrol, exit right. Ski Patrol, exit right, please. Here we come, Piper Stokes through the finish. Piper Stokes, bib 40 with a time of 1:01.22. 1:01.22. Isla on course at the top. Uli Bauer in the start gate. Dude, it is a block of ice out here. You literally, so if you're looking up at the course, the camera doesn't do it justice, but it is steep and it is frozen. It is very difficult to walk on without falling down. Uli Bauer on course. Lucy Vasquez in the start gate. At the finish, we just had bib 40, Piper Stokes finished with a 1:01.22, and then bib 52, Alexander Steensland with a 59.75, keeping it under that 1 minute mark. Alexander Steensland 59.75. Bauer on course at the top. Isla in our sight right now. Here comes Isla nearing the finish. Lucy Vasquez in the start. Lucy on course. Georgia Rayati. Georgia Rayati, Georgia in the start gate. And at the finish, bib 53, Isla with a time of 1:10.50. That's 1 minute, 10 seconds, 0.50. I'm listening. Racers, please vacate the finish area. Racers and families. Families, if you could help us keep that finish area clean, get those racers cleared out quickly and efficiently. Okay, let's catch up on our racers. We got Francina Jordan on course at the top. Riley Haynes next up in the start. Georgia Rati on course. Lucy Vasquez, bib 55, finished with a good time, 56.23. Uli Bauer, bib 54, finished with a 1:06.09. Before that was Isla, bib 53, with a 1:10.50. And that's Georgia, bib 56, with a good time, 54.88, 54.88. Riley Haynes on course at the top. Eleanor Souter next up in the start. Here we go. Here comes Francina Jordan into our sight. Again, 30-second gaps. So Riley, we got 5 seconds till Eleanor Souter drops. And Eleanor on course. Avery Wallen next up in the start. Coming across the finish line, we just had bib 57. Francina Jordan with a 58.19. 58.19. Looks to me like any time under that 1 minute mark is a good one so far. Avery Wallen in the start. 5 seconds to drop. And Avery on course. Amelia Schenk next up on the start. At the finish line, we just had Riley Haynes, bib 58, reaching for that finish early, going 56.74. 56.74 for bib 58. Amelia Schenk in the start. 5 seconds to start. Okay, Amelia Schenk on course. Tegan Colliander in the start gate. Eleanor Souter, bib 59, finishes with a 56.06. 56.06. I've got a drill here at finish if we've got someone that can work on it. Okay, Tegan Colliander on course. Ainsley Fleming next up on the start. At the finish, we just had bib 60. Avery Wallen with a 59.70, 59.70. Okay, Amelia Schenk, bib 61. Looking good out there, 56.57. Imogene Harney next up on the start. Ainsley Fleming is on course. Next through the bottom is going to be bib 62, Tegan Colliander. Imogene Harney on course. Nope, sorry. Imogene not on course. Okay, Ainsley Fleming, mid-course. At the finish, we just had bib 62. Tegan Colliander with a 1:03.49. 1:03.49. Imogene Harney in the start. Okay, Imogene Harney, I believe, is going in 5 seconds. Ainsley Fleming coming to the finish here. This is bib 64. Hand timers, pay attention. That is bib 64. We skipped 63. So bib 64, Ainsley Fleming with a 1:03.28. 1:03.28. Imogene Harney on course. Ella Spraycar in the start gate.
Hey, Eric.
Parents, we've got to keep that skiers right, lookers left, race line clear. We need space for skiers to exit the course without going through the finish, and race crew also. Okay, let's see. Bib 60, Avery Wallen gets a shout out from the YouTube from Renee Wallen. Bib 60, go Avery, go from mom. At the finish line, Bib 65, Imogene Harney with the time of 55:05. Emmeline Springer on course the top. Alexandra Zatseva in the start gate. Ella Sprakar next up in our sight. Any second now is going to be coming up over that crest. Again, on the camera angle makes it look flat, but this is quite steep right here. Pretty open course set. They can make pretty nice round corners here, round turns. Yeah, pulling in for that finish. That is Ella Sprakar, Bib 66, with a 1 minute flat .82. That's 1:00.82. Smith Stern next up in the start gate. About 15 seconds to go till she starts. Alexandra Zatseva at the top of the course. Coming to the finish, this is Bib 67. 67, Emmeline Springer with a 55 flat. Going into unofficially third place currently. 55 flat, good run. Okay, Smith Stern on course. Emma Caldwell next up in the start gate. Looking at my top here, Margot Weber in the number 1 spot with a 54.78 as we're looking at it. Okay, up at the top, Emma Caldwell, Bib 71 on course. Hayden Chakowski in the start gate. At the finish, we just had Bib 68. Alexandra Zatseva, 57.34. 5734. And Smith Stern in our sight. Emma Caldwell at the top of the course. Hayden a few seconds from dropping. Hayden Chakowski on course. Evelyn Clark next up in the start. That is Smith Stern, Bib 69 with a 1:03.16. 1 minute, 3 second, .16. Evelyn Clark, 10 seconds to drop. Top of the course, Hayden Chakowski. Coming into our sight right now is Emma Caldwell, Bib 71. Reminder, parents, keep that finish area clear. Keep that exit area clear. Help the racers get moved out of the way as they come through. Evelyn Clark on course at the top. Quinn Ebner next up in the start gate. Emma Caldwell, Bib 71 with a 1:05.89. 1:05.89. And Hayden Chakowski coming into sight already. Hayden must be going fast here. Quinn Ebner in the start gate. Evelyn Clark top of the course. Bib 72 headed to us, and it was fast. 72, Hayden Chakowski with a 57.42, 57.42. Danny Peterson next up in the start. Quinn Ebner, top of the course. Evelyn Clark coming into our sight any second now. Bib 73 will be next up into our vision. And here comes Evelyn. That's Bib 70, Evelyn Clark. Coming through the finish with a 55.59, 55.59. Quinn Ebner, mid-course. Danny Peterson on course. Next up on the start, Caroline Owens. Okay, I had to do a correction to my tent. Catching up here. Joan Girard on course at the top. Charlotte Miller mid-course. Iris Stoller next up in the start. At the finish, we had bib. So let's go back to bib 74. Bib 74, Quinn Ebner with a 57.86. 75, Danny Peterson with a 101.64. Bib 76, Caroline Owens with a 102.16. 102.16. Bib 77, Kaya Shine with the fastest run we've seen all day, 54.56. Charlotte Miller, bib number 1 with a 58.87. Joan Girard coming into our sight any second. Iris Stoller on course. Avery Dye next up in the start. We have changed over to bib number 1. Hand scores. Bib number 1 just came through. Bib number 2 will be next through. Avery Dye on course. Freya Storhaug in the start gate. All right, I got my gloves back on. It's a little chilly this morning with the wind. It is breezy and blustery. Okay, up at the top, Freya on course. Lillian Duerk in the start gate. At the finish, bib 2, Joan Girard with a 107.56, and then bib 3, Iris Stoller with a 1:00.40. So 1 minute, 0.40. Avery Dye coming into our sight right here. Lillian Duerk in the start gate. Lillian 10 seconds to drop. Here we go. Avery Dye, bib 4 with a 58.78. Lillian on course at the top. Ava Black next up in the start gate. All right, trying to get my co-pilot, Porter, in the shot here. There's Porter sitting next to me. Hi, Porter. Everyone says hi. Okay, up at the top, Sophie Verrier in the start. Ava Black on course. Lillian at mid-course. Freya, bib 5, coming through the finish right now. Freya, bib 5 with a 1:10.57. 1:10.57. Sophie Verrier in the start. Ava Black on course at the top. Lillian Duerk coming into the bottom. And go Avery, go from Mom, go Emma from Greg Caldwell. Come on, Lily, bib 6. Let's see, bib 6 just came through. That is bib 6. Lily Duerk with a 1:06.95. Lily getting cheered on by Mama and Ryan from home or on the YouTube. Okay, up at the top, Quinn Tetuan on course. Billy Dorado Boysen in the start gate. At the finish, we just had bib 7, Ava Black with a 1:00.07. 1 minute flat, 0.07. Let's clear that finish area out. Clear that finish area out. Parents, help us out. Let's keep it safe for the incoming skiers. What you guys can't see on screen is this is a high-speed finish with a slippery, icy braking area to slow down, and we have to keep it clear to give people space to slow down. At the finish, we just had bib 8, Sophie Verrier. Wait, I think I've been saying that wrong. I wrote something different the other day. Bib 9. No, I think I got that right. Okay. Sophie with a time of 5:7.43. Quinn Tetuan coming into our sight. Billy Dorado on course at the top. Ariana Lauro next up in the start. Ariana next up. This is bib number 9 coming at us. Quinn with a time of 1:04.02. 1:04.02. Billy Dorado next up into our sight any second here. Ariana Lauro on course. Brooklyn Beckerman in the start gate. Here we go. Here's Boysen coming into our sight. This is bib number 10 headed to us. Quinn Tetuan, bib 9, just got the 1:04.02. 1:04.02. Brooklyn Beckerman on course at the top. Grace Mara in the start gate. At the finish, Billy Dorado boys in bib 10 with a time of 1:05.59, 1:05.59. Ariana into our sight already. Brooklyn Beckerman at the top of the course. Grace Mara getting ready to drop. And Grace is on course. Anise Adams in the start gate, bib 14. At the finish, we just had Ariana Laro, bib 11, with a 57.68. That's a good run, 57.68. Again, anything under 1 minute is looking pretty fast today. Brooklyn Beckerman in our sight right now. Anise Adams on course at the top. Reese Tura next up in the start. At the finish, bib 12, Brooklyn Beckerman with a 58.40. Grace Mara next up in our side. Here comes Grace. We can see her coming over the knoll. Anise Adams, top of the course. Reese Tura next up in the start. 5 seconds to drop for Reese. Grace Mara, bib 13, with a time of 1 minute flat, 0.14. That's 1:00.14. Alexandra Teno next up on the start. Reese Tura on course. Anise Adams coming into our sight any second. This is bib 14. I'm looking uphill for bib 14. Here she is. Alexandra Teno on course at the top. Maddie Waldron next up in the start. Anise Adams, bib 14 with the time of 1:06.05, 1:06.05 for Grace. Maddie Waldron, 10 seconds to drop. Alexandra Teno, top of the course. Reese Tura, bib 15 in our sight right now. And Maddie Waldron on course at the top. Cecilia Valentino next up in the start. At the finish, Reese Tura, bib 15 with a 1 minute, 0.57, 1:00.57. A lot of racers in that 1 minute flat range, and then fractions of a second separating quite a few. Cecilia Valentino, 5 seconds to drop. Here comes Alexandra Teno, bib 16, pulling into the tuck early through these final couple turns. Alexandra Teno, bib 16 with the time of, here we go, 1 minute flat, 0.49, 1:00.49. Cecilia Valentino on course. Nicole LaBelle next up in the start. Looking over at the chat. Go Grace, let's go Grace. Yeah, Grace, yay Grace. Go Vivi, yay Vivi. Dylan, Dash, Vale, Gigi, and Mom. Nicole LaBelle on course. Millie Eberly in the start gate. At the finish, we just had bib 16, Maddie Waldron with a 57.78. 57.78 for Maddie. Millie Eberly in the start gate. Nicole LaBelle, top of the course. Cecilia Valentino into our sight right now. This is bib 18, bib 1-8. And Millie Eberly on course at the top. Valentina Kawamura next up in the start. Cecilia Valentino, bib 18 with a 58.62, 58.62. And Nicole LaBelle looking fast here. Bib 19 coming in with a 57 flat. That's 57.00. That's a good time. Valentina Kawamura on course at the top. Brianna Vignali next up in the start. Bib 22. Brianna, 5 seconds to start. And our sight here, Millie Eberly, bib 20. That's bib 20 with a 101.45. 101.45 for Millie Eberly. 101.45. Valentina Kawamura next into our sight. Top of the course, Brianna Vignali. Amelia Schwartz loaded in the start gate. So this is bib 21 headed to us. 22 on course, 23 next up in the start gate. Here we go, Valentina Kawamura in our sight. Looking like a good run so far. Amelia Schwartz on course the top. Phoebe Wassner next up in the start. And Valentina Kawamura, bib 21, with a 105 flat. 105.00. 105.00 for Valentina. Phoebe Wassner, 10 seconds to start. Amelia Schwartz at the top. Brianna Vignali in our sight right now. That's bib 22 coming into the finish area. Phoebe Wassner on course at the top. Monroe Mangelson in the start gate. At the finish, bib 22, Brianna Vignali with a 109.73. 109.73. Monroe, 5 seconds to start. Bib 23, Amelia Schwartz with a time of 57.37. 57.37 for Amelia Schwartz. Monroe Mangelson, top of the course. Ava Strout next up in the start. Phoebe Wassner. Phoebe Wassner in our sight right now. This is bib 24. Bib 24 in our sight. At the top, Ava Strout on course. Daphne Molk next up in the start. Okay, Phoebe Wassner, bib 24. Gets a time of 106.72. 106.72. Daphne Molk, 10 seconds to start. Monroe Mangelson coming into our sight already. On a heater here is bib 25. Monroe coming across the line with a 58.39. 58.39 for Monroe Mangelson. Daphne Molk, top of the course. Ava Strout coming into our sight any second. Sloan Dvorkin in the start gate. Sloan in the start gate. 5 seconds for Sloan to start. This is Ava Strout, bib 26. Bib 26, Ava Strout with a 105.49. 105.49. Naomi Sill next up in the start gate. Sloan Dvorkin at the top of the course. Daphne Molk coming over the hill. Here comes Daphne, bib 27. Bib 27 coming at us. And Naomi Sill on course at the top. Millie Waugh next up in the start. At the finish, bib 27, Daphne Molk with a 103.03. 103.03 for Daphne Molk. Millie Waugh in the start. 10 seconds for Millie to start. Okay, parents, let's keep that finish corral open. Yep, let's have them exit left. Athletes exit left, nice and safe. Looks good. All right, back to my station. Amelia Backus next up in the start. Millie Waugh on course. Naomi Sill coming into our sight. At the finish, we just had Sloan, bib 28, with a time of 1:12.49. 1:12.49. Amelia Backus on course already at the top. Harper Hollowell next up in the start gate. The last racer through on my screen shows bib 219, also known as 19, I believe, is Naomi Sill with a time of 1:09.29. 1:09.29 for Naomi Sill. Millie Waugh, bib 30, just finishes with a 53.50. That's it. That's the fastest. 53.50 for Millie Waugh. Goes into the 1 spot. Harper Hollowell on course at the top. Sydney Adam next up in the start. Amelia Backus coming into our site right now. All right, I just changed to a heavier glove. I am cold. At the finish, not cold, but hot, is Amelia Backus, bib 31, with a 59.98, keeping it under that 1 minute mark. Harper Hollowell coming into her side any second. Sydney Adam on course the top. Elena Smith next up in the start gate. Elena on course the top. Annika Toland next up in the start gate. At the finish line, bib 32, Harper with a 101.85. Catching up on those last few, we had Naomi Sill, bib 219 with the 109.29. Millie Waugh, bib 30 with the 53.50. Amelia Backus, bib 31 with the 59.98. Harper Hollowell with the 32, 101.85. Annika Toland in the start gate. Elena Smith on course. At the finish line here, we've got bib 33, Sydney Adam with a 102.85. 102.85. We've got the, I think, Steamboat chiming in, giving a shout out to their teams. Let's go, Steamboat U12s from the U10s. Okay, up at the top, Kristen Sung in the start. Annika Toland at mid-course. At the finish, we just had bib 34, Smith with a time of 103.50, 103.50. We're getting close to the end here. We're down to, I think, the last 5 racers. We're going to slow the pace down a tick. So, we doing finish intervals or 1 minute intervals?
1 minute.
All right, 1 minute intervals. So Kristen Sung should be on course any second now. And Kristen Sung on course. Reed Rinchler next up in the start. At the finish line is bib 35, Annika Toland, 104.41. 104.41. Looking at my screen, I can only see the top 2 right now. In the number 1 spot, Millie Waugh with the 53.50, second place. Kaya Shine, 54.56. So Millie Waugh putting a hurting on him. Over a second faster is Millie. Okay, let's see. Kristen Sung in our sight right now. Reed Rinchler loaded in the start gate. 10 seconds to start for Reed. Kristen Sung, bib 36 here. That's bib 36 with a time of 101.37. 101.37 for Kristen Sung. Reed Rinchler on course at the top. Jaslyn Spritzer next up in the start gate. So this is bib 37 will be the next one through. Bib 37 next up. Oh, Ski Club Vale. Sorry about that. Not Steamboat. Ski Club Vale. I saw the S's. Yay, Vale. Go Vale. That's what we're talking about. Go Vale U12s from the U10s. Sorry about that, guys. Jaslyn Spritzer, 10 seconds to start. Reed Rinchler coming into our site. Porter doing jumping jacks, trying to warm up.
Dude, I can't feel my toes.
Okay, Jaslyn on course at the top. Elizabeth Barney next up in the start. Reed, this is bib 37. Reed Rinchler with a time of 109.99, 109.99. Okay, Jaslyn Spritzer's been on course for 30 seconds. So Elizabeth Barney's got 30 more seconds. Okay, Elizabeth Barney, 10 seconds. Jaslyn Spritzer in our sight. Bib 38 coming to the finish here. Okay, final racer of the women's Run 1 GS is on course. Elizabeth Barney, final racer on course. At the finish, we just had bib 38, Jaslyn Spritzer with a 101.08. 101.08. .39 through the middle section, no faults. I'm listening to the radio chatter, following Elizabeth down as the final racer.
Don't say the fault quantity out loud if there are.
Here comes Elizabeth Barney, bib 39 into our sight.
39 pass lower, no fault.
39 past lower, looking good. Pulls into the tuck for the finish. That is bib 39, Elizabeth Barney with a 59.97. Keeping it under that 1 minute mark. That looks good, Elizabeth Barney. Okay, I've got to do some timing duties. Stay with us. I'll be back with you shortly with the men's run. So, Karen, no faults, correct? Correct. Okay. Okay, while we wait to get switched over to the men Giant Slalom 1, let's take a look at the YouTube chat. So I accidentally said go Sunlight when it was Vail, Ski Club Vail, cheering their team on. And for some reason, Ski Club Vail is talking trash on, not Sunlight, Steamboat. Vail is talking trash on Steamboat. I'm kidding, I'm sorry. They're encouraging all racers. Now, looks like we've got Jason Cowie saying, let's go Jackie 145 cooking buddy. Is it Jakey? Yeah, Jakey probably. Let's go Jakey. I don't have, that reminds me, let's switch over my sheet to the guys. Parents, it actually does help me when you insert the bib number into the chat. I've got so many names going in front of me, I don't have their bibs all memorized. Yeah, Jack Cowie, bib 145, is going to be up pretty soon, I think. Okay, looks like we are starting with Griffin Curry, then Miro Miscioni. I practiced this one last night. Miro Miscioni, Marcel Miracle, Jack Hardy.
Thank you for getting that done, Don. That's a good job. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go check and see if my finish post here is shaky. Hey, Karen, will you just wiggle those two finish posts gently and make sure they're not shaking or wiggling? Okay, finish is getting a big dousing of dye right now. Dousing of dye, leading the skiers to exit stage left, hopefully. The slowdown zone is sheer ice, and we're on a steep hill, and oh my gosh, Karen is an awesome boot skier. Man, I wish you had this on camera. She just boot skied to the bottom, giving the die pack operator some instruction. She says, no, do it like this, silly head. All right, sun is starting to burn through the clouds here. But it's still pretty cold. How is our sandwich board hand scorekeeper keeping up? You doing good down there? You got any missing times? You kept up the whole time. Awesome. Good for you. Okay, well, I'll try to keep you up to date here. All right, we are clearing the course on the radios right now. Start pitch clear. Here we go. First forerunner for the men's afternoon run on the YouTube. Let's go, Griffin. Get it, bib 139. Again, the parents, thank you for putting those bibs in there. So that is going to be Griffin Curry, first racer in. Go Team Telluride from Brad Alary.
Well, I can tell you when it's been 30 seconds.
Looks like Telluride's going to have a little gap before we see any Telluride racers in this run. Okay, Forerunner is dropping at next interval. Right?
What?
Forerunner's dropping next interval, correct?
Once they get the interval functioning, yes.
Okay. They're resetting the interval box. They have a beeper. So there's a beeper that beeps and it's programmable, and they program it to beep every 30 seconds so that we get these like kind of rock solid times. So the kids can listen to the beeper and they kind of know automatically when they're free to go. There is a starter. So as a reminder, my name is Eric Landis. My son Porter Landis is over here running the actual timing computer. My wife Sarah Landis is the starter up at the top. So we are the race team here at Powderhorn. Okay, Forerunner on course, and this is bib. Struggling with gloves on. Griffin Curry, bib 139 in the start gate. I believe we'll wait for this Forerunner to complete the run successfully before Griffin will get sent. Normally I am in a timing shack with hard-sided walls and a heater. Okay, here comes Forerunner 1. Griffin in the start gate still. Okay, Forerunner gets a time of 1 minute .48. That's 1:00.48. Bib 139, Griffin Curry in the start. On next, here we go. Griffin Curry, 139 on course. Miro Miscioni in the start gate. And then it will be Marcel Miracle, then Jack Hardy, then Ewan Dunlop, then Jack Cowie, then Oliver Woods. That is our starting lineup. Okay, couple seconds. I believe Miro's going to drop. And no. Here we go. Miro on course at the top. Griffin Curry coming into our side. Here we go. Griffin Curry. Interesting line there. There it is. Griffin Curry with a good time. 57.96. 57.96 for Griffin. Marcel in the start gate. There's two of them and they both work.
Yeah, they're working on it.
Okay, Marcel on course. Jack Hardy next up in the start. We just had Griffin Curry, bib 139 with a 57.96. Griffin, you've got some cheering from, let's go Griffin, go get it, from Bella.
So that means tell the kid 10 seconds.
And Miro, bib 140, comes through the finish. 1:03.65. 1:03.65 for Miro. Bib 140, 141 coming to us. 142, Jack Hardy on course at the top. Ewan Dunlop next up in the start. Bib 144. Okay, 10 seconds till Ewan Dunlop starts. Here we've got bib 141, Marcel Miracle coming towards the finish with a 103.35. 103.35 for bib 141, Marcel Miracle. Ewan Dunlop on course. Jack Cowie next up on the start gate. Next racer coming to us in our sight. That's bib 142, Jack Hardy. Cowie, 5 seconds to go. And Jack on course at the top. Oliver Woods next up in the start. At the finish, bib 142, Jack Hardy with a 101.40. 101.40. Scorekeeper, I forgot to tell you, I brought duct tape with me. If those sheets need duct tape to the board, I do have duct tape. So, yeah, just, I don't know, letting you know. Okay. Yeah, nothing any of us can do about it now, is there? Should have said it before. Oliver Woods. No. Okay, Ewan Dunlop, bib 144, finishes with a 56.04 into the number one spot unofficially. Ewan, fastest so far. Jack Cowie, mid-course. Oliver Woods at the top.
They were trying to get the beat.
I tested both of them. Okay, Oliver Woods on course at the top. Aiden Schmidt next up in the start gate. That last racer through was bib 144, not 143. We skipped 143. Okay, so 144, Ewan Dunlop did the 56.04. Then 145, Jack Cowie with a 111.24. That's 111.24. Up on course, Aiden Schmidt at the top. Oliver Woods, mid-course, coming into our sight. Joaquin Schupp in the start gate. This is bib 146 coming at us. Joaquin Schupp on course at the top. Griffith Sherbier in the start gate. At the finish, we just had bib 146, Oliver Woods with the time of 1 minute .42. That's 1:00.42. Okay, 10 seconds till Griffith Sherbier starts. Aiden Schmidt in our sight right now. This is bib 147. Aiden Schmidt with a time of 58.39. 58.39. Griffith on course at the top. Morrison Librand in the start gate. Over on the chat, tight line Steamboat from Bella. Let's go, Jackie. Go, Aiden, cheering from Aspen. Go, Team Telluride. 1. No beep. There it is. Morrison Librand on course. Luke Marshall next up in the start. At the finish line, bib 148, Joaquin Schupp with a 106.04, 106.04 for Joaquin. Luke Marshall in the start. Next skier in our sight is bib 149, Griffith Sherbier. Luke Marshall starting in 2, 1, and Luke on course. Dustin Ward next up in the start. At the finish, bib 149, Griffith Sherbier with a time of 1:03.03. 1:03.03. Go Aiden, cheering from Aspen. Let's go Jakey. Let's go Jakey from Dad. Dustin Ward on course at the top. Nicholas Kasdan in the start. At the finish line, bib 150, Morrison with a time of 1:02.63. 1:02.63. Nicholas Kasdan, 10 seconds to start. Luke Marshall already in our sight. Luke going fast here. What is it? It is fastest! Luke Marshall, bib 151, goes 51.61. Fastest we've seen on the hill so far today by a long ways. 5:161. 5 seconds faster than the 2 spot currently. Nicholas Kasdan on course at the top. Liam Tannis in the start gate. Dustin Ward. Man, Luke Marshall, we've got these 30-second gaps. Luke comes into my screen, like I said, 10 seconds ahead of schedule. Liam on course at the top. Peyton Smith in the start gate. At the finish, bib 152, Dustin Ward with a 1:00.92, 1:00.92. Nicholas Kasdan in our sight any second. Here he is. Liam Tannis, 5 seconds, Peyton Smith's 5 seconds to drop. Liam Tannis mid-course right now. Peyton Smith on course at the top. Clayton Edwards next up in the start. At the finish, bib 153, Nicholas Kasdan with a 1:03.69. 1:03.69. Clayton Edwards, 10 seconds to start. Liam Tannis in our sight, 154, coming to the finish. Liam with a time of 1:00.98, 1:00.98. Clayton Edwards on course to the top. Andre Aleri in the start gate. Bib 155 coming at us, looking fast. This is Peyton Smith. Bib 155, Peyton Smith with a good time, 56.82. Up at the top, Andre Aleri on course, Finley Rosenthal next up in the start. Clayton Edwards coming into our sight any second now. Bib 156 coming into sight. There he is. 10 seconds until Finley Rosenthal starts.
That is not true.
Clayton Edwards, bib 156. Across the line, Clayton with a time of 1:04.69, 1:04.69. Finley Rosenthal on course at the top. Forrest Caneva in the start gate. Andre Aleri in sight, headed to the finish line. Bib 157 coming to us. Forrest on course at the top. Owen Holmes next up in the start. At the finish line, bib 157. Andre Aleri with the time of 1:00.74. That's 1:00.74. Owen Holmes, 15 seconds to go. Finley coming into sight. There's Finley. Forrest, mid-course. Okay, Owen Holmes on course at the top. Ingram Olsen next up on the start. At the finish line is bib 158. Finley Rosenthal with a 1:10.61, 1:10.61. Forrest coming in hot right on his heels. And Forrest gets a good one. That's bib 159 with a 55.02. Unofficially into the number 2 position as they run right now. Second place for Forrest. Ingram Olsen on course at the top. Colin Crumman in the start gate. Owen Holmes in sight right now. This is bib 161. From Vale, Owen Holmes. with a 1:00.66. Owen Holmes, 1 minute, .66 for bib 161. Up at the top, Dylan Anderson in the start gate. Colin Crumman on course. Ingram Olsen in our sight right now. Bib 162 headed into the finish. Dylan Anderson on course already. Barrett Groff next up in the start. At the finish line, bib 162, Ingram Olsen, 59.81. 59.81. So far, we've had clean skiing here. Not too many faults or DNFs. I haven't heard any radio chatter. Skiers keeping it good here. Barrett Groff on course at the top. Jack Kofoid in the start gate. Coming across the finish line, bib 163, Colin Crumman with a 56.75. That's a good run. Currently in the 4th position. Unofficially, but 56.75 for bib 163. Dylan Anderson in sight. There he is. Barrett Groff on course at the top. Jack Kofoid on course. Thomas down in the start gate. This is bib 164 coming into the finish area. Jack Kofoid on course. Thomas down next up in the start. Coming across the line, bib 164, Dylan Anderson, 1:06.80. 1:06.80. And there it is. Barrett Groff breaking the barrier, going sub 50 seconds. 49.89 for bib 165, Barrett Groff. I don't have my noisemaker, but if I did, it'd be going right now. Woo! For Barrett Groff, 49.89. Woo! I do not have it hooked up to the speaker. Actually, I do have the noisemaker. It'll go, I think, on... Yeah, there it is. It's on the YouTube. There's the noisemaker. Okay. Okay, back up to the top. Cooper Curry in the start gate. Donovan Frazier on course at the top. Thomas down mid-course. Coming across the line, we just had bib 166. Jack Kofoid with the 57.72. 57.72. Man, that was exciting, that Barrett Groff run. Thomas down with a good one. Bib 167 goes 54.09, moves into the number 3 position overall currently. Cooper Curry on course at the top. Grayson Smith next up in the start. Grayson Smith. Crash. We got a skier down. Goes backwards through the gate. That must be Donovan Frazier, bib 168.
We need to start and stop until he can move out of the way.
He's clear. Is that 168?
Horse is clear, skier is out of the way, all good. Your last race is a D.
Okay, that's bib 168. Okay, so bib 168 is off to the side of the course.
How did you get that? The racer before the last one message.
Tell him it's 168. 168. And Cooper Curry, bib 169, finishes with a 56.22. 56.22. Before that was bib 167, Thomas down with a 54.09. Coming into our site here, that's bib 170, Grayson Smith. Careful, careful, careful. Woo. Luckily, I buried all those wires. Okay, Ransom Pierce next up in the start gate. I had a feeling that I knew that was going to happen sooner or later.
Yeah,
it's
we
okay.
did get a die arrow there.
It's fine. Buried, it's okay. Okay, so let's catch up with the Ansel Garrett in the start. Ransom Pierce on course. Last racer through, bib 170. Grayson Smith with a 59.31. And Donovan, joy is cheering you on even though you had a tough run. Ski hard, still have fun. You go get him next run. Let's go Cooper from Bella. Go get it, 169. Joy says, that's okay, Dono. Good run. Get him next time. I kind of figured you were going to say that, Joy. I was saying it for you before you said it. Up at the top, Ansel Garrett on course. Asher Groman next up in the start. Coming to us, inside should be bib 171, Ransom Pierce. Asher Groman on course at the top. Henry Kasdan next up in the start. That's bib 171, Ransom Pierce with a time of 1:05:50, 1:05.50. Ansel Garrett inside already. Asher Groman on course. Henry Kasdan next up to start. About 5 seconds for Henry. And Henry on course already. Antonio Munoz next up in the start. Finishing fast, Ansel Garrett, bib 172 with a 57.82, 5782. Antonio Munoz, bib 175 in the start gate. After Antonio, we were going to be switching to bib 101. At the finish, we've got bib 173, Asher Groman with a 55.49. That's a good time. Goes into 5th position currently. Henry Kasdan coming into our site any second. Antonio Munoz on course. Simon Vargas Miller next up in the start. Simon is bib 101 in the start gate. Coming at us is bib 174. 174, Henry. Then Antonio Munoz, 175, will be next into our site. Okay, Simon Vargas Miller on course at the top. Lincoln Lowry, 102 next up in the start. At the finish, Henry, bib 174 with a 1 minute .08, 1:00.08. Bib 175 in sight right now. This is Antonio Munoz. Lincoln Lowry starting in 5 seconds. And Lincoln Lowry on course. William Hilzendagger in the start gate. At the finish line, bib 175, Antonio with a 59.13, 59.13.
What just happened?
William, ready to start any second.
Did someone just die?
Okay, Simon Vargas Miller, bib 101, gets a time of 1:02.46, 1:02.46 for Simon. William Hilzendagger on course. Cameron McCallum in the start gate. Lincoln Lowry, this is bib 102, getting to us quickly here. Lincoln Lowry, 102 with a time of 55.01, 55.01. Good enough for the 4th position, unofficially currently. Cameron McCallum on course at the top. Brooks Brownson next up in the start gate. William coming into our site any moment here. Okay, 103 coming into sight. Brooks Brownson on course at the top. Jack Venitos in the start gate. It's bib 103. William Hilzendagger, 109.97. 109.97. Course worker coming through. This is Cameron McCallum, bib 104. 59.27, 59.27. Up at the top, Jack Venitos on course. Miles Vinzara next up in the start. Next into our site is bib 105, Brooks Brownson. Jack Venitos on course, Miles Vinzara. 3 seconds to start. Oh, Miles on course already. Miles Vinzara on course. Owen Wall next up in the start. Coming across the finish line, bib 105, Brooks Brownson with a 102.13, 102.13. On the YouTube chat, go Brooksy from Jason Cowie. Go Brooks, have fun in Powderhorn from Kristen Brownson. Owen Wall on course at the top. Carter Perviance in the start gate. Jack in our sight right now, bib 106. Carter, 10 seconds to start. Jack Venitos, bib 106 with a 111.76. That's 111.76. Carter Perviance on course at the top. Soren Grisham next up in the start. At the finish, we just had Miles Venzara, bib 107, with a time of 1:03.70, 1:03.70. Owen Wall in sight already. That's bib 108. Coming into the finish area, Owen Wall. Carter mid-course at the top. Soren Grisham on course. Clay Conkling next up in the start gate. Owen Wall, bib 108 with a time of 56.50. Pretty good time in the 9th position currently, 56.50 for bib 108. Clay Conkling, bib 111 in the start gate. Coming into our sight right now, Carter Perviance, bib 109. And Carter, bib 109 with a time of 59.06, 59.06. Brooks, Kristen says, wow, good skiing. She loved it. Murray Trosterman next up in the start gate. On course at the top, Clay Conkling. Coming into our sight right now is going to be bib 110, Soren Grisham. 10 seconds to start for Murray Trosterman.
No. Now 10 seconds.
Bib 110, Soren Grisham nearing the finish line here. Murray Trosterman on course at the top. James Cowie next up on the start. At the finish line, bib 110, Soren Grisham with a 113.55, 113.55. Go Soren, 110 from Bella. James Cowie on course at the top. Simon Thiel next up in the start. At the finish line, bib 111, Clay Conkling with a time of 106.08, 106.08. Simon Thiel, 5 seconds to start. James Cowie, top of the course. Coming into our finish area, bib 112, Murray Trosterman. Murray going fast. Murray Trosterman, bib 112 with a 54.74, edging into the 4th position currently. Gareth Mann in the start gate. Simon Thiel on course. James Cowie, bib 113, headed to us. 10 seconds to start for Gareth. James Cowie, bib 113, coming into the finish. Gareth Mann on course at the top. Luke Atwood next up in the start. James, bib 113 with a 102.98, 102.98 for James Cowie. Luke Atwood next up in the start. 10 seconds till Luke starts. Let's go, James, from Kristen Brown on the YouTube chat. And Simon Thiel coming in hot, 54.90 for Simon Thiel. Bib 114 goes into the 5th position, 54.90. Up at the top, Luke Atwood on course. Luke Danzer in the start gate. Gareth Mann in our sight right now. Bib 115 nearing the finish, low and wide, looking fast. Time looks pretty good here. Man, super low. Gareth Mann, bib 115 with a 55.05 into 8th position. Unofficially 8th position, 55.05 for Gareth Mann. Luke Danzer on course at the top. Luke Atwood coming into our sight at the bottom any second now. There he is. Charlie Quinn next up in the start, bib 118. Charlie Quinn on course. Dane Fisher next up in the start. Luke Atwood, bib 116, with a time of 1 minute, .11. 1 minute, .11. Kristen Brown says, go Luke and Team Summit. Up at the top, Dane Fisher on course. Caleb Ketter next up in the start. Charlie Quinn is headed to us. Luke Danzer, bib 117, finishes with a 58.47. 58.47. Caleb Ketter next up in the start. Dane Fisher, top of the course. Charlie Quinn in our sight right now. Bib 118. Coming to the bottom. Caleb Ketter on course at the top. Anthony Casano in the start gate. Charlie Quinn at the finish, bib 118 with a 57.49. 57.49 for Charlie Quinn. Anthony Casano, 5 seconds to start. Anthony on course. Bodie Bauer next up in the start. At the finish line, bib 119, Dane Fisher with a time of 56.34. 5634. Bodie Bauer in the start gate. Bib 120 coming into sight any second now. Caleb Ketter, there he is. Followed by Anthony Casano. Bodie Bauer on course at the top. Benedict Ulmer next up in the start gate. Bib 120 coming into the finish area with a time of 106.10. 106.10 for Caleb Ketter, bib 120. Benedict Ulmer, 10 seconds to start. Benedict on course at the top. Graham Rowland next up in the start gate. We just had bib 121, Anthony Casano, come in with a 101.18. 101.18. Bodie Bauer coming into view. Graham Rowland starting in 5. Graham Rowland on course. Steele Sabella in the start gate. Bib 122, Bodie Bauer finishing with a 103.43. Before him, 121, Anthony with a 101.18. Okay, 5 seconds till Steele gets underway. This is bib 123, Benedict Ulmer at the finish gets a 59.95. Benedict 59.95. Steele on course at the top. Eli Greenberg next up in the start. Graham Rowland, 124, coming to us. Eli Greenberg on course. Lincoln Hamilton next up in the start. At the finish line, bib 124, 102.05. Porter just made a good catch. Dropped his radio, caught it. Lincoln Hamilton in the start gate. Eli on course. Steele on course. Last skier through, bib 124. Graham Rowland was a 102.05. Before him, Benedict Ulmer, bib 123, turned to 59.95. Lincoln Hamilton on course at the top. Callum Murkison in the start gate. We've got about 10 skiers left. Callum Murkison, 10 seconds to start. At the finish, we just had Steele, bib 125, with a time of 104.34. 104.34 for Steele. Callum Murkison on course. Felix Locker next up in the start. At the finish line, Eli Greenberg, bib 126 with a 59.87, 59.87. Lincoln Hamilton, 127. Coming to us, bib 128, Callum, mid-course, up at the top. Felix Locker on course. Oliver Lake next up in the start. Bib 127, Lincoln Hamilton with a time of 1:01:51. 1:01:51 for Lincoln. Bib 129, Abandoned. Writing it on my sheet. Bib 129, Felix having trouble there. Oliver Lake on course. Micah Saffer in the start gate. At the finish, we just had bib 128, Callum Murkison with a time of 1 minute, 0.59, 1:00.59. On the YouTube, cheering for 145, Jack Cowie from John. Let's go, Tony, bib 121. Go, James, go. Okay, up at the top, Declan Short next up in the start. Okay, bib 132 will not start. Oliver Lake, bib 130 in our sight. Micah Saffer on course. Gabe O'Connor next up in the start gate. Coming to the finish here is bib 130. Oliver Lake with a 59.71, 59.71. Gabe O'Connor on course the top. Eli Feroldi in the start gate. Okay, Micah Saffer, 131, coming into our sight. Eli Feroldi in the start gate. Gabe O'Connor mid-course. At the finish, that was bib 131, Micah, with a 1:08:80. That's 1:08.80. That is a course worker mid-course right now. Eli, 10 seconds to start. We're getting into the final few racers here. Final 5 racers will have a 1-minute interval. Eli on course. Kieran Madandi in the start gate. At the finish line, bib 133, Gabe O'Connor with a 1:01.96. 1:01.96. Eli, 20 seconds into his run. Kieran Madandi in the start gate. Okay, 30 seconds to start for Kieran. Bib 134 should be coming into our sight. There he is, 134, Eli Feroldi. 5 seconds to start for Kieran. And Kieran Madandi on course. Noah Mordi in the start gate. At the finish line, Eli Feroldi, bib 134 with a time of 1:04.52, 1:04.52 for Eli. Kieran, 25 seconds into the run. Okay, 30 seconds to start for Noah Morty. Ten seconds to start for Noah. Noah on course. Andrew Souls in the start gate. We're switching from 136 to 138 for this final racer. Bib 135, Kieran Madandi with a 1:06.81. 1:06.81. Okay, 15 seconds to start for Andrew. Noah should be coming into our site any second. We just had bib 134, Kieran with a 106.81. Here comes Noah. Okay, Noah, bib 136 with a time of 1:08:07. 1:08:07 for Noah. Andrew, final racer, bib 138 coming to us. 30 seconds into the run so far. Andrew Souls. Bib 138 coming into our view any second now. Here he is, Andrew. Final racer of men's morning run. The afternoon run will resume at 12:30. We'll pick up a new stream. Okay, bib 138, Andrew Souls with a 1:10:48, 1:10:48. I have to switch to timing mode. I will be signing off. We'll see you at 12:30.